Over 6 decades ago, when the subcontinent was partitioned, the biggest human migration in human history took place, with over 4 million people crossing over to make a home in a new country, Pakistan. The scenes here today are no different.
Thatta bridge in the southern part of Sindh where the Indus falls into the Arabian Sea. What you see behind me and everywhere is a mass exodus of all the villagers trying to escape the floods. The government has been telling them to evacuate their homes. They've been resisting. Nobody wants to leave their home. But today they've got no choice but to leave in droves and droves. They're leaving with all that they can muster. Their homes are plonked on trucks, on bullock carts. The women, the children, the goats and the chicken are sharing the only piece of vehicle they can get. The rest of them are walking it through miles and miles of traffic.
The mighty Indus, which flows through these stunning valleys of the north, became monstrous as it washed away everything in its way and flooded Baltistan, KPK, plains of southern Punjab, Balochistan and Sindh, causing havoc for the people in these areas. It's very difficult to translate the plight of these women behind me. They have nothing, so when they start asking for things, all they're saying is to give them whatever needs to be given with dignity, not to throw food at them, to give them some health care. Most of the women behind me have some ailment or another. Somebody cannot see from the eyes, somebody cannot hear from their ears. There hasn't been any doctor who has looked at their conditions. The children are unwell. There obviously is no food, just like everybody everywhere else, just like the millions who are out there screaming and shouting for food. There are few people listening. But the unfortunate thing is that the state they're in today is not very different from the state that they were in right before the floods. They have fields and they have the capacity to eke out a living, but an extremely basic living. They walked away with a house which, as you can see around me, is comprised of some of the most basic things. They're asking us, where are we? Where is help? Miles of these beautiful farms. It looks more like a tourist spot. Most of these places have been evacuated by the locals who had planted these farms to get cash crops. Sadly, all of this in a few hours or a day or two will be underwater. People have lost their fish farms here, rice paddies, lotus farms, and they were all ready and ripe for the taking. But unfortunately, all this will be lost and become another statistic in this disaster of the floods in Pakistan. The hustle bustle of the market is over. You can only find some dogs and cats scrounging for some food. Millions of people have left their homes, have left their villages and taken to the street. They're all fighting for the few donor agencies that they see or a couple of camps which are there distributing food. Nobody is happy. Majority of the people are still hungry.
घर टूटी विया आहिनि हाली ॾिस टूटी विया किरी विया घरनि जे विच में अची विया रुगो बंदि जे टुकर ते वेठा आहियूं असीं त मल आहियूं असांजो दरिया हनन में बि त रक्षा जी वस पुॼंदी कोन्हे असांजा रक्षा रुका ये पिया आहिनि असां सां का मदद सरकार करे जा हाणे असांखे हिते लोड़ाए छॾीनि जा यकी गोली हणी मारे छॾी
It didn't take much for Ahmed to persuade us to go in search of our animals and belongings. These were dangerous waters infested with insects and poisonous snakes. I was just amazed at the number of rats and falcons flying overhead. They were having a field day here. The British who built these embankments left maintenance manuals which kept an allocation for milk for cats they employed to make sure that the rats did not burrow holes in the levees and make it vulnerable. Sadly, we never even read the manuals. We searched around for hours to look for any survivors. Luckily, we didn't find any human beings. But what we did do was save a drowning dog. Rahmat didn't have much to gather. In fact, she just wanted to take a last look at her home that she may never see. And it was really quite moving to see a woman going about, straightening her home, clearing the mess in her, in her house, amongst all this turmoil, knowing fully well that her home will be inundated with water soon. Throughout the night, we overtook army trucks loaded with people, rescued villagers, packed in vans, and heading for drier land. Next day, the aerial views from the helicopter said it all. The scale was devastating and the damage unimaginable. Back in the waters, we headed off in a hovercraft. We could see the plight of the abandoned, scattered on the levees. It said so much about the kind of help they required. Along with food and clean water, there were so many still abandoned. It was more about access and rescue.
तो बस कोई भी नहीं आया पहुंचा यहाँ पे कोई टीम नहीं आई ठीक है इनके ये आदमी हमारा अभी हम आ गए आपकी जो बंदा बीमार है उसको आप जाओ जो बच्चे बीमार है ना उसको लेके आओ
Silenced for far too long, these women had to voice out as they have had to face the brunt of the floods. There was no stopping them. Oh my God, इनको क्या हुआ? इसको प्लीज ले चलो तुम साथ चलोगी ना तुम साथ चलो अभी इसको हॉस्पिटल में दाखिल थे इसका पाँव कटा हुआ इसका एक बच्चा मर गया इसके बच्चे देखे इसको तो साथ ले जाते हैं आ जाओ. The shock of seeing so many in such pathetic condition stranded without any help was just overwhelming. Who do you rescue? Who do you leave behind? Who's to say? The state of the children was clear. They have and will have no future. And that is the scary part and the worst part of this devastation. I feel part of the system that gave Leila and these people none of the rights that they deserve. And I feel sick that this temporary rescue will not change their fate of poverty and marginalization. Voluntary doctors who were here on site in Thatta from Karachi cared to be here and to serve. I just handed over Leila to them.
No, not life-threatening.
Of helplessness and extreme poverty. उससे बुरी disease और कोई नहीं.
She would be taken care as an outpatient.
ठीक है, मैं आपको बताऊं, मुझे एक फेवर चाहिए, इसको कहीं पनाह इधर दे दें, इसको कहीं
Madam, we are establishing a tent city. I'm overall in charge.
इसको कोई टेंट मिल
We'll
जाए।
take over.
Now the diseases are coming up like gastroenteritis, hepatitis. Cholera hasn't hit at this area as well. We haven't seen any cholera patient in these few days. It was scabies, gastroenteritis, upper respiratory tract, malaria. Scabies is rampant. Every child probably has scabies in this area.
These may be the lucky 1,000 who will get into a camp. But what about the hundreds and thousands who are already here, abandoned on the hills, scattered all over? They've migrated, they've had to evacuate their homes. What is their future?
इस तरह की बहुत सारी एफर्ट्स चाहिए होंगी इन लोगों को अकोमोडेट करने के लिए और उसी तरह की एक एफर्ट हम कर रहे हैं वी एक्सपेक्ट कि बाकी लोग भी इस तरह की एफर्ट्स करेंगे और ये लोग जो हैं वो अकोमोडेट हो जाएंगे
Everything went underwater, everything is destroyed. So for these people to come back to their normal routine life, it would take I don't know how long, but it would require a huge effort, not just on the Pakistani government's part, but on a huge worldwide effort.
Back on the highway, the women yet again had taken the initiative to block the road, to create a protest and to make the authorities hear their cry for help.
हम नहीं, हम क्या है? हम एक फुकरा है, गरीब है, मजदूर है, जतुओं का मजदूरी करे। हमको कुदरत वालों ने इधर रुलाया, हमारा बच्चा इधर भूख मरा, ये हमारे नसीब में लिखा था। कोई पानी का बोतल फेंकते हैं, कोई चॉकलेट फेंकते हैं, कोई एक बिस्किट कुत्ते जैसे वो बच्चा बेचारा दौड़ते हैं, दौड़ते रोड पे बच्चा बेचारा। भाई एक तो कैटरा दे दो। ए माई, दूर हो जाओ रोड से, दूर हो जाओ, दूर हो जाओ, हमारा है, दूर हो जाओ। अरे अल्लाह की गजब तुम्हारे गिच्ची में पड़े, तुम यह कैसा गजब कर रहे हो? गरीब बेचारा मर रहे, उनके एक टाइम का तो रोटी दे दो, एक टाइम का तो शेर, एक शेर को आटे का दे दो।
This is Makli Hills, a World Heritage Site, the largest necropolis of the world with more than 1 million graves. Today, it has become the city of the living dead. What these people need today is not charity. They need their rights, they need their dignity, and they need the nation to invest in them and into their future. In the end, we thank our donors, both local and international, for supporting this. It's a long haul. Thank you for being here now, and we hope that you will be with us down the line during the rehabilitation and reconstruction of finally settling all the millions who've been displaced by the floods.